Hey guys, Garrett here. And winter and solar don't mix very well. The sun is very low in the sky, so it's not very intense. The days are a heck of a lot shorter, and you have to deal with frost, snow, and ice. I live in Kansas, and we see all four seasons. So wintertime definitely accounts for 25% of the time, and we definitely deal with snow, ice, and frost, which means if you have solar on your roof or even a ground mount system, you are definitely impacted by those winter months, and you're definitely going to see a sharp decrease in the production. So when you're designing your solar, you have to take that into account. Summertime is going to have the most production. Obviously, wintertime is going to have the least, and therefore everything in between is going to be in between. I'm all electric, meaning everything that we have, hot water, HVAC, everything is all electric. And the expensive times for us are actually the heating times. My geothermal systems, for their size, actually produce more cooling power than they do heating power, which means during the winter time, they run a little bit more. And if they're running, they are using electricity. So my wintertime bills are the highest year-round. And of course, that falls at the same time that production is at its lowest. So you really need to evaluate your electricity needs throughout the year, figure out when your peak times are, as well as when you're going to be generating the most power. So for a person like me, it would be really easy to oversize a solar system because I'm trying to size it for the winter time when production is the lowest versus the summertime when production is the highest and my usage isn't quite as high. It's my opinion that you should design your system so that you use every single watt that you produce. So most of the time, you're going to make that system a little bit smaller than what you actually need. My solar system is comprised of 18 solar panels with an Enphase microinverter on each panel. It's an IQ6 Plus microinverter, and that's for a 5,000 watt system. Enphase does a great job with monitoring software, and I recently got hooked up my Enphase Envoy, which is a device that monitors all of my microinverters. This is great because I can monitor each panel individually, make sure that each panel is working as well as each microinverter, see if there's any dead panels or panels that aren't producing as much may have a problem, as well as I can gather the data of how much the whole system produces over time. It's a really powerful tool, so let's go ahead and take a look at it. As we pull up the website for my system, we can get a really good look at what everything is producing. So as you look to the right, it tells you today what it's producing, the past 7 days, month to date, as well as lifetime. I have not had mine hooked up all that terribly long, but we really can't look at the first day or the last day on there because both of those are partial days. So we are looking at everything in between. And each bar represents 1 day's worth of data. So it ranges anywhere from the highs of the 27, 28, 29 kilowatt hours per day, all the way down to anywhere from 2 to 5 in a day. And you know what happened on those days because the data shows it. It was cloudy or it was rainy, and that's exactly what it was on those days. If it ever shows that it's nothing, there's either a problem with your whole system, you might have flipped a breaker, or it snowed, or your panels are completely covered by something that isn't letting any light in, and you need to be aware of that. So as we flip over to the next screen, we look at what would be a full sun day. So that day, the sun was out all day long, and this would be a normal day. No clouds, no rain, no nothing. And as you look at this graph, you kind of see that the whole thing is tilted a little bit towards the left, and there's a reason for this. My house does not face directly due south, and that would be an ideal situation. If you're building a system, I would suggest putting it due south. However, we didn't. Our solar system was actually a bit of an afterthought, but we oriented our house about 20 degrees off of south towards the east. So that means we get more of that morning sun than we do the afternoon sun, and the graph shows it. Here's another day that was a mix of clouds and sun, and you can tell again by the graph. When it's supposed to be way up high, there are some that are pretty high and some that are much lower producing. Each one of these bar graphs is a 15-minute window of time. And here is the worst producing day of the lot. I only made 1.8 to 1.9 kilowatt hours that day, and it was an extremely rainy day all day long. It was really, really dark, and we didn't produce much at all. So far, since I've hooked up my Envoy, I have 24 full days worth of data. And it's not quite a month, but we can extrapolate out what a month would be. It's a pretty decent representative sample. In that 24 days, I made 400.68 kilowatt hours of electricity. So if you divide that amount by the number of days, which is 24 days, ends up being 16.695 kilowatt hours per day. And then if you figure a month has 30 average days within it, and you take that average daily number times that 30 days, it comes out to just a tiny bit over 500 kilowatt hours per month. So what's this mean? Well, for me, a kilowatt hour costs roughly 10 cents per kilowatt hour if I buy it from the electric company. So if you take that 500 kilowatt hours of production in that month times 10 cents per kilowatt hour, it means that I made $50 worth of electricity during that time, or better yet, I saved $50 per month in electricity. And again, this is basically January. So for me, the production I would make in December, January, and February would be really close to each other each particular month. And if this was $50 in that month, it means that each of those other months would also be about $50. And that's for a 5,000 watt system. As time goes on, there's going to be more and more savings, and I'm planning to make another video as I get more data that actually figures out what would my annual return be on this, and then where's my break-even point. If you're wondering how much my system cost, I made a whole nother video about it. There's a link down in the description. So what does all of this mean? Well, it's going to depend how far north you are on the earth. So the further north you are, the colder the temperatures are going to be, the more chances of snowfall you're going to have, which means then that your solar panels are going to get covered, which then means that you're going to have to spend more time shoveling all of that snow back off of those solar panels so that you can get your production going. Well, if you look at the data like I was showing you, I have days where I'm making 28, 29 kilowatt hours in a day, and if that's 10 cents per kilowatt hour, it means in that day I'm making $2.80 to $2.90 per day. Whereas on those cloudy days or those rainy days, I'm all the way down into the 2 to 3 kilowatt hour production per day, which means I'm only making 30 cents that particular day. So you have to look at, is it worth it for me to go clear off all of those panels? And if you know it's snowing and it's going to keep snowing for a while, you just let it snow until it's done, and then you clear off your panels. But as time goes on and you get more and more data, you're going to know exactly what your return is for that time that you spend clearing off those solar panels. If it's a sunny day, you're going to make more. If it's a cloudy day, it's probably not worth your time. But regardless, it's really interesting to look at and to think of it in terms of the dollars and cents as well as your time. Obviously, in the non-winter months, this isn't going to be an issue. I mean, yes, we will have cloudy days and production will be down, but there is nothing that we can physically do about that. So is it worth it to have solar in the winter? Yeah, obviously, because you're wanting it for the rest of the year anyway, and if it makes anything during the winter, you're money ahead. But do the calculations, figure out, is it actually worth your time for the couple of cents that you're going to get for that day to clear off all of those solar panels. Solar panels really should be pretty maintenance free. They self-clean as time goes on, and they really should only need, call it a deep clean, maybe once a year. So for all of you that have roof mounted systems like me, you're going to have a harder time doing any maintenance to your system. If you have a ground mounted system, it's a heck of a lot easier because it's probably at waist height. Regardless, don't let it deter you. Put the system in. If it makes economic sense for you, definitely do it. But this gives you an idea during the winter months of how much production a 5,000 watt system can have. And again, I'm located in Kansas. I'm one of the types of guys that's looking for savings everywhere. So the fact that this is saving me $50 a month during its lowest production time, I think is fantastic. Whenever I was designing the system, I used a $60 per month average over the year to decide whether or not it was worth it. And I'm pretty darn sure I'm going to exceed that as time goes on. So again, another video to come later on when I have more data, and I'm going to break down everything so that we know what the type of investment is. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to hit that like button as well as subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.